Time delay-based effects are mostly conceived upon duplicating the original signal, delaying it in time, and adding that to the original signal. So all of these time delay-based effects actually add something to the original signal to achieve the required effect. So first one I'm going to start off with is going to be a delay effect. Now, a delay effect actually repeats the input signal, anything that we feed it, and just repeats that delay by a certain amount of time. Now, right here, you can see that the delay time is actually based on the BPM, so based on musical divisions of 1/4, which would be a quarter beat. So once I play a note out of this synthesizer, so right now it repeats the signal only once since we have no feedback introduced. Once we introduce feedback, the actual feedback loop that we have inside this delay, and we will go into details of how delays actually repeat the signal more than one time, actually introduces less attenuation to that feedback loop, giving us more and more repeats of the same signal. So I'm going to play the note only once. You will see it right here on the keyboard. You can also see the input right there that I played out of the synth just happened once, and then we have the delay repeating that same signal over and over again. So now I've changed the timing of that delay so the delay is even further apart from the original, meaning that there's going to be more time elapsing between two of those repeated parts of the signal. I can do that even more, increasing the time of the delay. And I can shorten the time of the delay. And I can shorten the feedback, so less repeats. See, fades out really fast. I can bring them up and make the delay really long. And I can unsync that delay time from the actual musical tempo of the song. So if I unsync that, I can manage this delay time in milliseconds. Which allows me to make it really short. I can link these two times for the left and right channel. And by unlinking them, I can make those times separate and different. So you see one channel repeats at 1/4 beat and the second one at 8th note. So that's delay. We have many different types of delays like ping-pong, the ones with introduced filter delays, tape delays that emulate more different things, but we will get into those when we get to delays in a different level of this course. Right now, let's switch to reverbs, which are also delay-based effects. So I'll just take a simple reverb right here from Ableton. And a reverb is an effect that adds reverberation effect to our original sound, giving it an illusion that it's inside some kind of a room or enclosed space where, aside of hearing the original signal, we also hear all the reflections of that signal off the walls of the room we are in. So you can recognize that when you speak to somebody on the phone, you know that they're in a bathroom or in a hallway or in the car. So you can hear that because you learned throughout your lifetime what different rooms sound like. Now you hear that even if with your eyes closed, if I took you into a sports gym, a really big hall, and you said something, you would immediately know that you are in a really big room. So let's hear what the reverb sounds like. This is without any reverb and with reverb. So what you can see from all of these effects like delay and reverb, I will reintroduce that delay back in. You see they have the dry-wet parameter right there. This is the parameter that balances between the original signal and the actual added signal that the processor is adding on top to create the illusion. So this is no processing, and this is delay added in. Now I can hear only the delay without the original by hearing only the wet part of the signal. We call that dry, the unchanged original signal, and wet, the processed piece of the signal. And we can do the same for reverb. So this is the dry signal with no reverb and only the reverb. You see, no original. When we mix those together, we get a nice illusion of the room. Of course, for reverb, there's many other parameters we will go through when we get to the reverb level. Right now, I can show you that you have this balance between the dry and wet, so the original and the reverberation part of the signal. And I can also make that reverb longer, like this. So it sounds like it's in a bigger room. Now, there are many more parameters, as I've said, but what's really important is that by increasing this wet piece of the signal, wet part of the process signal, we get the illusion that the original source of sound within that room is further away from us. So we are actually making something sound further away in an enclosed space, because that's what would happen in physical reality. If somebody was standing inside a gym hall right next to us, we would hear their voice or any sound they make maybe louder than the actual reflections that come from the walls of the room. But if they were to move further away from us, we would actually hear them way quieter than the actual reflection, so we could determine how far away are they from us. Now, this is how reverberation gives us three-dimensional feeling inside a song, by making something sound further away from us or making something sound closer to us. By actually reducing the amount of the reverb, it sounds like they are in a room, but they are closer to us. We are closer to the source. Now, the next effect we'll go through of all these time-based effects is the chorus. The chorus also has the dry-wet parameter right there, because it adds something onto the original signal. And what it adds is the original signal, of course, with some time delay introduced. It actually, right here, adds 2 copies of the original, and those copies are being modulated. So their pitch is being modulated. A kind of vibrato is added to those, so that we get this illusion of 3 voices singing the same sound. Now, this is dry. This is with chorus. So we get that lush sound, and you can recognize chorus because it was introduced onto everything in the 80s. All of the songs had like chorus on everything, on the vocals, on many of the instruments. So it's a really recognizable effect, but that's all it does. Adding delay onto that copy that we are adding onto the wet part of the signal. And it also has a feedback loop where we can add more than 1 repetition than just these 2. Now, we also have a flanger, which is really similar to a chorus, except it just adds that 1 repetition, but with less time delay. So given that less time delay, it sounds even closer, and it gives a really special kind of effect where you can hear that up and down motion in the high frequencies. Let's hear that. You see that sliding and gliding up and down? That's what you get. Now, it's also just another original sound added, but with some time delay and some vibrato introduced onto it. Now, that vibrato is controlled by an LFO, so a low frequency oscillator, and we can manipulate that one too. So we have many different flangers with many different parameters. For now, it's important for you to grasp this main principle, what a flanger actually is. So it's adding another original copy to the signal being fed. So it copies that signal, adds some time delay, in this case, less time delay than a chorus, and add some vibrato onto that signal, so we get this signature flanging sound.